Hi everybody, I'm back. I've got all of the regular cardstock here. It's listed, again, it'll be on your sheet. 2 evening evergreen, 2 soft succulent, 2 fresh freesia. And I have a notation here where I'm gonna make one of the sheets a tent fold for 2 cards, and the second page is for flowers and scraps. And then 1 bumblebee, which will be 2 top fold cards, 1 bumblebee for 2 cards, 2 calypso coral. There's gonna be 2 tent fold cards, 1 top fold card, and then half a page for flower and scraps, and then 2 basic white, which is gonna make, actually it'll make 6 3x3s. I just didn't put the 5th one or 6th one together because I wanted it fully covered. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside. I'm not sure. You can't quite see that, but that's okay because you should be able to print off a copy that's on my website. But what I wanted to show you specifically, let me pull it down a little bit, is for the 2 evergreens, I want the tent fold. The tent fold, and I'm going to do both sheets at the same time. The tent fold is the traditional one where it's 5.5. So you would cut this at 5.5 and then score it down the middle. Which actually, yeah, I'll just cut it. Normally what I would do is do the scoring on both sheets first and then cut them, but that's going to get too confusing to show everybody. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut. So now I have 4, and I'm going to score them at 4 1/4. So this is where I make sure I don't use my cutting blade. I use my scoring blade. You can do this on the your scoring tool, or you can use this particular trimmer as a scoring blade. Why do I do it 3 times? I don't know. It's probably a compulsive disorder. I tend to do it 3 times. I guess I get the results I want when I do it 3 times, or whatever. Anyway, so this is the last one of the evening evergreen, and I'll fold them in a little bit. Now we're doing 2 soft succulents, and we're doing a top fold. So I'm going to cut those both at the same time, but instead of putting them in horizontally at 5.5, I'm going to put them in portrait mode and put it at 4 1/4, which will make top folding cards. So then I will fold at 5.5. Get rid of my cutting blade. And we're doing this one. I'll do it 4 times this time. Put that aside. And do 5. I hope I did that at 5.5. I will go look at it again and see if I did. I did. I was talking, but I wasn't sure I was paying enough attention. Okay. 2 more. Oops, let's see. Yes, I'm making all 4 of these. So 5.5. There we are scoring. 1 more. You can always stop and start this if I'm going too fast. I'm trying to make the video not hellaciously long. For 2 fresh freesias, I'm doing 1 sheet that's a tent fold. So that's the normal, which I will cut at 5.5, and I will score these at 4 1/4, and that makes the score. Make sure I'm doing this right, and then 1 more score at 4 1/4, and then it says for the other sheet I want 1. The second page, actually I didn't use any of the second page. I'm using that all for flowers and scraps. You'll see in the picture that I'm also going to post that I didn't even use half a sheet of flowers and still have flowers left over. But I will put that one aside for now. So for the bumblebee, we're doing top folds. So in this case, I'm going to do 4 1/4. Just so that I can show you one time what I mean. Once you decide which way you want to cut it, you know that your fold is going the other way. So if you go to, in this case, 5.5, and go ahead and score it and then turn it around and get ready to cut it, you've already scored both of them at the same time, which makes it a little bit faster. It's not necessary, but it's just a little hint of how to do things. Then we're going to our 2 Calypso corals. We're going to have 2 tent folds and 1 top fold. So that means, again, because in this case I'm cutting it at this part, I can do this one more time for you in the scoring at 4 1/4. And then we can go ahead and cut at 5 1/2. And so we have 2 that are ready to be made in the tent fold. And then we're using 1/2 page for the flowers and 1 top fold. So for the top fold, we do the 4 1/4. And again, I didn't use all of this 1 page, but we'll put this aside for flowers. We'll go ahead and score this at 5 1/2. And then set that aside. And then we're gonna cut our basic white. Now I used the thick because there's not a lot of embellishment on my cards. And yes, before we end, I will show you the cards. But the best way to do it is if you have 12 by 12 paper, because then you can cut it at 6 in both directions. Or I'm sorry, in one direction you cut 6, and then you can go 3, 3, 3, and 3. And so you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You end up with 8 cards with a 12 by 12. We can only do 6, and there is some scraps that are left, but white scraps are never a bad thing. So we'll put the white scraps aside. We do use some of those. And then we're gonna go ahead and cut at 3. Oops. And yes, I am cutting 2 pieces of the thick cardstock, and it cuts very well. These blades are so much better than our older cutter. They last a long time. I've been able to do wedding invitations and a bunch of other things that generally take a long time. But anyway, and I won't go ahead and score these. I'll wait and do those later so that it's not that long. And this is for scraps. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cutter aside. We've basically followed all of these directions and these correct directions for cutting. The additional supplies will be multi-purpose glue. Twine is optional. I used it on 1 card just to show you. Clear rhinestones, again, that's optional. When you have clear rhinestones, the advantage of that is if you have alcohol markers or stand-in blends, you can actually color them and they stay that color, so that's good. And then I used dimensionals on some of them. Again, that's really kind of optional too. So let me put this aside and let me go through the cards that I made. And they are in plastic. I'm not going to take them out. But this is the first one. And that's using one of those longer pieces that was 2 by 5 1/2. Using some scrap. And this is one of the sayings in the many messages. Here's another one. Be strong, be brave, you've got this. I used a little leaf that I did cut with my, the optional die, pierced blooms. Any die can be used that has pieces that you can use to help decorate. And that green was just a scrap piece. Most of these don't have anything inside, or you'll see the inside when I actually make the cards. This one just has little leaves sticking out, sending happy thoughts. Again, these are all with the 2 by 5, yeah. Thank you ever so much. Your kindness means more than you could ever imagine. So as you can see, on this one, I used 2 of the many messages because there's more than 15, which is how many cards I'm making. Sending a smile your way. I used a little diamond in there, diamond gem, rhinestone. This one says, thinking of you with sympathy and prayers. And I've got a little leaf. To me, butterflies and leaves are what I usually use when I'm making sympathy cards. I don't know why. Flowers, leaves, and butterflies. You could use birds too, but I don't generally do that. So anyway, and another little rhinestone. This one we're using let's see, this is card number, 11. These are marked. So now I'm using these 4 here on the leaves. DSP, this one just has little things poking out. And if you'll notice, you wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't told you, it makes it look like a pot, but this actually was too far off the page where I put it. So when it was cutting this oval, it flattened the top, so it made it look like a pot, but oh well, that worked out. Here's one, so happy to hear of your exciting news. Congratulations. And at first thought that's a baby card. And it can be. But you can have exciting news like being promoted, that you want to offer congratulations, graduation, all kinds of things. And the leaves are a little bit more masculine. This is one where I just used twine, and it's a happy birthday. Again, these are all using those 4 pieces, and just a card to say hello. And yes, a lot of these are very simple, and that's the point sometimes, to make them more simple. We're going to get a little fancier here. Hope your day is full of love, laughter, and joy. And that's using these that are 5.5 or 5 1/4 by 4. And so there's 2 of those. And then this one says happy anniversary. Again, with scraps in the background. Then this one uses, this is 1 and 3, so it's using some of these right in here. Put a little gem on there and put a dimensional behind a flower, and that's as easy as that gets. And then the fanciest one of all, which isn't really fancy, but I felt bad because I hadn't been using any of my cutouts, which I had purposely done a bunch of. And I can show you, let's see, of all of the ones I cut out, I still have lots of pieces left and lots of flowers left. So I can make more cards with them later, or fancy up another one if I choose. And then lastly is the very simple little cards. These are not mailable. These are 3 by 3. And I just made 5 of them. You could make 6 because I cut out 6. And I do have a scrap, that I can use. It's not quite as big as the full sheet, but I can do a half, maybe cut it off a little bit and use it by half, but I haven't gotten there yet. I use these for racks or random acts of kindness. I keep them in my purse in a little box that's plastic, and I can hand these out. Inside, I generally stamp something, which is not part of many messages, but I generally stamp something about thank you for your kindness. We have lots of different stamps that say things like you make a difference, and just thank you for being you. Just different little things that people appreciate a lot. This is trying times, as we all know, and some of these people have been at it for a really long time. I've sent a lot of these to my doctor's offices, dentist offices, just to be passed out to give them a little bit of cheer. So those are the cards we're making. 5 of these or 6 of these, and then 15 of the rest of them. And that's all with the simple stamp set that I've lost already. Here we go. Called Many Messages, and the message die, which cuts them all out at the same time. So if you have these stamps, and even if you don't, you can still follow along with the way I made them. And I hope you enjoyed, maybe not so much the cutting, but that you'll come back for parts 2 and maybe possibly parts 3. It depends on how long it takes me to show you how to make the cards. Overall, once this was designed, it took me less than 3 hours to make 15 full-size cards and 5 small 3 by 3 cards. It took me way less than, and that included sending my dies through to get leaves and flowers and that kind of thing. So I hope that you'll tune in for the next episode when we actually start to make flowers. That'll be fun. Bye.